On my channel, I talk a lot about the traditional publishing industry, how it works, some common misconceptions about it, and how you can get your book published by a major publishing house. So I ran a poll to see what aspects of the traditional publishing process are still confusing you, because I really am passionate about helping authors figure out how to get their books out to readers, and understanding the publishing industry is a big part of that. So looking at the results from the poll, by far the biggest thing that you all wanted to learn more about is what exactly happens after you sign with a literary agent. And this makes a lot of sense because I've covered videos about how to get a literary agent, what they're looking for, how to search for a literary agent, but I haven't talked so much about what happens after you get that offer of representation, and where do you go from there? How does your publishing journey unfold at that point? It can feel like getting a literary agent is the golden ticket and that holy grail, and that everything is really going to fall into place after that one moment. And while that is a huge accomplishment, the truth is that getting a literary agent is really just the beginning of your publishing journey and process. So today I'm going to talk through all of the steps that happen after you get an offer of representation and sign with a literary agent. So you will get a greater understanding of how your book gets published after you have that agent support. If you are anywhere along the book writing or publishing journey and are interested in learning more about the industry, I recommend subscribing to my channel. I talk a lot about the book industry and the writing process, and would love to have you around. So the first step that takes place after you sign with a literary agent is you are going to revise and workshop your manuscript with your literary agent. So your agent is really going to act as an editor first whenever you begin that collaboration process with them. And this is because they have a very keen editorial eye, and they understand what editors at publishing houses are looking for and where the market is going. And they are going to help you shape your story to be the most attractive to get a really good book deal. Rarely is the version that you submit to the agent the final version of the manuscript that they end up submitting to editors at publishing houses. There is much more frequently a revision process that takes place with the literary agent. That could be one revision, that could be a few revisions, and you really should take that process seriously and take their constructive feedback seriously, because ultimately they are just really trying to help you improve the story and improve the chances of getting a great book deal. They're going to give you written up editorial notes, as well as maybe in some cases even line by line edits, and you're going to work on those revisions with the agent directly back and forth. Now ultimately, this should be a collaborative and really rewarding effort on both sides. It should be exciting and productive to work with the literary agent in this editorial capacity. But at the same time, remember that they are definitely going to respect your creative vision for the story, because after all, they signed you because they love your book and they want to see it succeed. So don't feel like you need to just take all of their notes and, not push back if something doesn't sit right with you. The right literary agent is going to have that really constructive back and forth with you, and is going to be very open to your input as well. At the same time, I do encourage you to take their thoughts very seriously, because as I said, they are the industry experts and they have your best interest at heart. So step 2, this happens when you and your agent have worked on the manuscript together and you feel like it's in a really good place for an editor at a publishing house to pick it up. This is the point in the process at which you will probably take a little bit of a step back, because now is the time for the agent to prepare the submission to editors. You can take a deep breath and try to relax a little bit, because this is the agent's part of the job. The work is now going to be largely in the agent's hands. They are going to craft a submission letter that they send to the editors at the publishing houses with a brief description of your book project, as well as a little bio about you. And they're going to attach that revised, polished version of the manuscript and send it to a select and curated list of editors who they likely know well in the industry and think are going to respond really positively to the book draft. Agents don't send all of their clients' manuscripts to a select number of editors at publishing houses. It is a different match of editors each time. That is what the agent's job is to match their client to the right editor. So they know, dozens and dozens of editors at publishing houses, but they're really going to be careful at who they select to send your book to ensure that they have the highest chances of getting that editor to respond positively and make you an offer. Now on your end, there is going to unfortunately be some waiting involved because editors at publishing houses receive a number of submissions from agents every single day, and they are going to take a little bit of time to get through those submissions and actually read the manuscripts that are being proposed to them. It might take a few weeks, maybe even a month or two for you and your agent to hear back. So just be patient, check in with your agent. They're going to absolutely loop you in on any and all responses that they get, but you're just going to need to try to take a little breather and get your mind off of the submission. I know it can be a little bit scary during this time. I've seen authors go through it, but your agent is there as your support system, so don't hesitate to lean on them. So step 3 happens once the editor has had a chance to review your submission through your literary agent. They're ultimately going to either make an offer to publish your book through their publishing house or decline that project. This is going to be an email response or maybe a phone call to the agent, most likely an email response, where the editor either expresses that interest and says, I love this book, here is my offer with all of the terms of the advance and the royalties and the rights that the publishing house is going to offer for that book. Or they're going to say, at this time, I'm not prepared to make an offer. It is really not the right fit for us right now. And sometimes if they do decline, they will give you some constructive feedback as well, which can be helpful because it is possible that you don't get any offers on that first round. Every editor that the agent has reached out to maybe declines. And if that happens, you don't need to be disheartened because if they give you that constructive feedback, you and your agent can take that to heart and see if maybe you want to workshop the manuscript a little more before sending another round of submissions. Or alternatively, the agent might have a different path in mind and might think of some other editors who they would want to submit the project to who might like it as is. So remember that signing with a literary agent does not guarantee you are going to get an offer from a publishing house. What it means is that the agent is committed to doing their best to try to place you at a publishing house, but sometimes it doesn't happen, and that's okay because you can continue to work with that agent, and sometimes it takes a couple tries to get an offer. They are prepared to go on that journey with you. Now let's talk about the next step that would happen, which is if the agent receives an offer for publication, they are going to negotiate that contract in terms. If an agent gets one offer from an editor, they're going to sit down with you and talk through if that is an offer that you would like to accept or if there are any terms in the contract that you would like to push back on or negotiate. And if an agent gets multiple offers from multiple editors at publishing houses, that's a really great situation for you to be in. Because what often happens at that point is the agent will hold what they call an auction and ask all of the editors who are interested in purchasing the book to give them their best offer. And that will often raise the prices that they were really offering to pay you because they want to outbid the other publishing houses if they are really interested in your project. So that means more money for you and more money for the agent. The auction process is often how you come across those 6-figure or 7-figure book deals that you hear about, because that is multiple publishing houses overbidding each other in order to get that top spot, because there's just a lot of competition for that book and they all really want it. In addition to the price that the publishing houses are offering, the agent's going to look at things like royalty rates. They're going to look at the rights that contract includes. So does it include audio rights, foreign rights? I get into a lot of the nitty-gritty details about a book deal and a book contract in a separate video that I will link above. So I recommend checking that out if you want to learn a little bit more about all the terms and the payment structure that a book deal entails. I won't get into it too much now. But ultimately, during this process, the agent is going to be the expert in reviewing all of the offers and help you understand what maybe your best path forward is, if it's going with this house that is offering these terms or the other house that's offering maybe slightly different terms. They're going to walk you through that process, and you are going to ultimately decide on which offer you want to accept together. Step 5 is after the contract has been signed. This does not mean that the agent is out of the picture at all. So the agent is going to continue to see the book throughout the entire publishing process. Remember, they're your partner in publishing. They signed your book from its very inception, and they are really interested in seeing it all the way through to publication. They're going to be there for you if anything comes up along the way, if you run into any roadblocks or stumbles with the editor at the publishing house that you're working with. So say that you're having a little bit of a disagreement with your editor on maybe the cover design or the marketing plans, and you don't really know how to approach that conversation. Your agent is your advocate. They will be a part of the conversation with you and the editor, and they will really mediate any of those tricky situations where you are not sure what the editor has in mind or what the publishing house is trying to do. The agent is going to be there and be very involved throughout the entire life cycle of your book and your next books, so don't hesitate to look to them for support and guidance whenever you need to. That leads into step 6 and the final step, which is that you and your agent are going to collaborate on your next book. Whenever you sign an offer of representation with an agent, it is understood that you are meant to work together for the foreseeable future, and that they want to be with you for the duration of your writing career. It's really not a situation in which the agent is signing you just to sell this one book and then they want to get out of your life and they don't want to work with you on any future projects. They really, in most cases, are signing you as a writer rather than just one single project that you produce. So they're going to be with you for that next book that you write. And they're likely going to be one of your first readers on that project. So maybe you draft the first 50 pages. You might send that to your agent in the very early stages to get their feedback and start having that dialogue and that constructive editorial conversation, because again, they are invested in you creating the best possible manuscript and helping you get it out there in the world. And you will go through a similar submission process on your future books. Once you have a solid manuscript in place, the agent will decide either to submit it to that same editor that maybe worked with you in the past, or maybe a group of new editors, depending on the book and depending on how your last collaboration went. Now, if you do feel like your agent relationship isn't quite working out, you don't have to stick with that agent for the duration of your career. People do change agents all the time, especially if an agent maybe pivots their career or they decide to leave agenting in the publishing industry. So don't feel like you are stuck with this agent for life, but you should feel like that person is going to be there to support you as long as you need and want them throughout your writing career. I hope this information helped you better understand the relationship between authors and agents and what exactly happens after you sign that offer of representation. And let me know in the comments below what other questions you have about working with a literary agent. I know I talk about literary agents a lot, and so I would love to know what I haven't covered that you really are dying to know and what is still confusing to you. If you are somewhere along the search for a literary agent, whether you are planning to query literary agents in a few months, or maybe you have already queried a few literary agents but want to send another batch of queries out, I recommend checking out my video on legit ways to find a literary agent that may uncover some new methods of research that you haven't yet tried. And if you found this content helpful, it would really mean a lot to me if you hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to my channel so that you never miss one of my new weekly videos. Thanks so much for watching, and happy writing.